And we are on the line this morning with Bill Dendy, and our conversation with Bill brought to you by Marcus & Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. He's a CPA and money manager, and Bill is here to tell us some pretty exciting news. If you're a parent of a kid who was, well, still a kid and headed toward the college years, there's always been this plan in place called the 529 plan. We put our son through college using a 529, but now 529 has a little bit of tweaking that is going to enable it to be even more valuable to you, and Bill is going to tell us about that. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, and you're exactly right. Those who have leftover money in a 529 plan in the past had to determine, do we move it to another eligible beneficiary, or do we just go ahead and take the money out and pay the taxes due? And the penalty if we're not using it for education or didn't have scholarships to show that we couldn't use it for education. And, you know, that's not terrible because you had the tax-deferred growth and you paid taxes. It was still a benefit. And the 529 is always great if you use it for education because it's tax-free. But with this Secure Act 2.0, oh, my gosh, they now allow people to roll up to $35,000 of a 529 plan that's not needed into a Roth IRA. And when it gets into a Roth IRA, it's like tax-free forevermore after that. And that can be a ginormous help to a young person just get started in life to go ahead and start funding that retirement plan and have a lot of years of tax-free growth.
Boy, it really can. My goodness. And if you're able to do that at $35,000, which is the top limit, my goodness, that compounds so darn quickly down through your work career that by the time you reach retirement age, you're north of $1 million, aren't you?
That's right. I mean, you have 5 to 7 doubles. Take the 35,000 and double it 5 times, and you're like, wow, it's growing. Double it 7 times, and it's several $1 million. And so that's, of course, assuming a 10% growth rate. Yet there are a number of equity investments that have in the past done just that. So, and even if we were more conservative, nice thing about Roth IRA is you get to pick the investment, so you can be as conservative as you like. But even if we got a 4 or 5% rate of return, which is possible now with fixed income, we're still looking at that money turning into several $100,000 by the time they reach retirement age. Especially if they're retiring a little bit later in their 70s or such, it can be a major benefit. But like with so many of these wonderful gifts, there are some details to it, and there are some gotchas to it, and it's not going to work for everybody.
Well, let's talk about those a little bit because we don't want everybody to think that they're going home scot-free with this and they don't have to save for their retirement in other ways. So what are some of the things that we need to be cautious about?
Well, the first item is this is pretty much for people who've already done the 529 and have the leftover money. Because the requirement is that the 529 plan be established at least 15 years ago. And so for those who started these things when the children were young and the children are just now in college, that's going to be about the right time frame. If you've got to have 15 years of having the 529 in existence before you can do the conversion to the Roth. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you can't put all $35,000 in there in 1 year. You can only do up to the amount that's allowed to be contributed to a Roth IRA each year, which currently is $6,500 for people under 50. And so it'll take a few years to get your $35,000 into that Roth. The third item is that the student has to have at least that much of earned income to be able to do the job. So they haven't launched yet. They don't have a job making anything. They can't yet do it. But as long as they make at least $6,500, they can start those contributions. And then the final piece is you can convert the money that's been in that 529 plan for at least 5 years. But contributions or earnings that have happened in the last 5 years are not eligible for the conversion. So it's going to have to be earlier contributions and the growth on those contributions to do the conversion. So that's a handful of rules. It's worth 20 minutes to talk to a CPA to make sure you get it right. But if you follow these rules, oh my goodness, what a ginormous gift this is from Congress to a lot of families.
Hey, Bill, when 529 plans were conceived years ago, Did you envision that something like this would occur? And these things seem to, they begin as one thing and then they metamorphosize over the years and they become something else. And sometimes it's a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing. This seems really, really good. But did you see this coming?
Absolutely not. This is one of those things that is a true gift. It's going to cost our government money to be able to provide this because they're not going to take those tax dollars that would have been available for the 529s. Some people are arguing that it disproportionately benefits the wealthy because it seems that it's families that had some wealth that went ahead and did these 529 plans and saved along the way. And to not have needed it all, it's usually the families that had students that got scholarships or they had other resources. And then to have the knowledge and the ability to do this conversion to a Roth and leave the money alone, that may also signify that we're dealing with people who are planners, savers, and oftentimes people who have more money. So it's one of those things that may be a bit of a surprise, different than what was anticipated, but it certainly is a gift for those who can use it in the right way.
It's always fascinated me how they come up with ideas such as this. And who do you consult when you're making a tweak to a system such as this? And I would guess it's someone who is right there in the same position you're in, a CPA, a money manager, somebody who knows their way around the system and has really put some thought into deciding, okay, what would make this system better? What would help the most people?
Absolutely, but I think it's really kind of complex. I mean, we keep changing tax code or adding on to tax code without starting over. And so every time they come out and say this is a taxpayer relief act or this is a minimization act or going to make it easier type of an act, I don't think it usually does. I think it looks more like the CPA and Attorney Job Security Act because it's getting so complex that most people don't have the time to keep up with all the changes. But I'll tell you, those who do have a distinct advantage over those who don't. And because we probably don't want to spend as much time as required to stay abreast, it is becoming more worthwhile to have that annual meeting with a person who understands the tax law and your personal situation. It's one more professional to have that can pay for themselves with just one good idea. And there are things that we can be doing to pay less in taxes or to maximize our outcomes by just knowing how the rules work.
It's interesting you say that because there are a lot of people who aren't going to take that time. They'll just look at something like this and they'll say, it's too complicated for me. I can't think of that. And I don't want to spend money in order to save money. But it can be absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. A good attorney or a CPA can be worth their weight in gold when utilized at the right time in the right way. And I think the part of it is you hear something like this, and you're like, I might be in that situation. Well, then make that appointment and spend your 30 minutes with the CPA to learn how that might work out. And I think that there are a number of classes offered at community colleges and such now that allow people to learn more about what they might need to know tax-wise to get the maximum benefit for their own personal situation. But again, for a lot of people, it's more, they just want to know what's out there. They want to know there might be a tax credit for, I don't know, remember years ago when we had the big tax credit for the energy efficient air conditions, windows, and doors. Mm-hmm. A lot of people saved several $1,000s on their tax returns. Yet others were like, I don't know, I have to get a high efficiency unit. I might need one, but I didn't hear about it early enough, or I just missed that opportunity. So again, staying abreast makes a difference. These changes do take place, and there are ways to actually benefit from the tax code and not get run over by it.
We get to this time of the year, Bill, and our guest is Bill Dendy, joins us from Dallas this morning, CPA and money manager. So many people are looking at their taxes. Some of them ship them off to folks who are going to do them for them, maybe a CPA, maybe somebody else who is in that specialty role. And they're looking at the monies that they're paying for taxes and where I can find a break here or there. What sort of investment advice is there out there? Is this the prime time of the year for that right now before tax season or in tax season?
Well, it's a time that people are aware of it. We start looking at those 1099s that we receive and those W-2s that we receive in the mail. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, my goodness, look at this. I made this much money, and this much was withheld for taxes. And so we're thinking about taxes. But oftentimes, when the year is over, we can't do a whole lot to change our situation from the previous year. There are just a few things that might be possible, such as IRA or SEP IRA contributions that can be done up until tax filing time. But mostly, the books have been closed on the previous year, and tax time is a good time to reflect on what we're going to do different this year, what might be possible for us to reduce the taxes going forward. And that's, of course, assuming that you're using good tax preparation software, or you're using your CPA, or taking the time to do your taxes correctly and make sure that you're not leaving money on the table.
Or you're calling a guy like Bill Dendy.
Or call that CPA or that money manager. Absolutely.
Good plan. Good plan. Bill Dendy, thanks so much for spending some time with us here this morning. I appreciate it.
God bless you. It's a sincere pleasure. Bye-bye.
Have a great day. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Fox News next, and then the Brian Kilmeade Show.
Okay, so you haven't been drinking your milk lately. Well, it's never too late to get back on track.